what the activity. So in focusing on culture, one of the things that we need to know, or from a very onset understand, that sometimes when it comes to the definition, the conceptualization, the interpretation of the term culture, we would be right to say that it remains a contested space in that its interpretation, its conceptualization, and even sometimes its definition varies from one organization and one country to another. But we decided today to go with the definition from UNESCO, which seems to be the most comprehensive, universal, more inclusive definition of what culture is. And it looks at it as a set of distinctive spiritual, material, intellectual, and emotional features of a society or a social group. And I think the fact that it goes down to break it into spiritual, includes spiritual and even intellectual and emotional, is one of the things that sets aside this definition of UNESCO, as I said, as being most comprehensive and most inclusive. Most of the time we find that interpretation of culture is limited to the material aspects of culture. But this includes even the emotional features of the society or a social group. And it continues to say that this encompasses not only art and literature, but lifestyles, ways of living together, value systems, traditions, and beliefs. And we will go later on to see that this, when we look at them deeply, we will now divide them into tangible and intangible aspects of our culture. I also want to just go further and mention that if we are looking at the one international protocol that governs culture and heritage, it's the UNESCO World Heritage Convention. And for those of you who are interested to dig deeper into this discussion or this subject of culture, I would suggest that you have a look at the UNESCO World Heritage Convention and get to understand the intricacies around culture and heritage. Now, there are schools of thought that believe that culture is a subset of heritage, and therefore heritage is at the top of everything. There are others who believe that heritage is a part of culture, and so culture is at the top of everything, and that heritage, art, food, creatives, and everything else falls under culture. So I would ask us, as we want to learn more about this subject, to familiarize ourselves with the UNESCO World Heritage Convention as part of our learning today. Then now we have defined, looked at what culture is. Now we're looking at definitions of cultural tourism, right? Definitions of cultural tourism. And the UNWTO, I think they're now, since 2024, they are now known as UN Tourism, defines cultural tourism as movement of persons for essentially cultural motivations. The definition is longer than what I have put here. I have just captured the opening statement in that definition that says it's a movement of persons for essentially cultural motivations. Now, another comprehensive definition that I found online is that cultural tourism is tourism in which visitors' primary motivation is to discover, to explore, to learn and experience tangible and intangible attractions in a destination. And therefore, if you look at that particular definition of cultural tourism, you will probably look, I will use the example of Kenya. We have the wildebeest migration between the Serengeti and the Masai Mara that happens every June. And that is a form of an intangible heritage of this place. So this second definition is much broader and looks at culture more broadly than what we have seen earlier on, even from the definition of culture by UNESCO. Going forward, let us appreciate the size of the cultural tourism markets globally, right? In 2020, it had been estimated that by 2023, this market will be worth $5.9 million. By 2033, it's going to be about 22 million US dollars. It is a huge market, although if we compare it to other forms of tourism and the larger tourism industry, we might say that it is a small percentage of the global tourism industry. But we can also appreciate that it is one of the industries that can be, one of the segments of tourism that can be very resilient. And it is one of the segments of tourism that promotes inclusion, that can promote equity in destinations and bring direct benefits to communities. So whatever its size, if we are talking sustainable tourism in 2024, we must appreciate that we cannot talk about tourism being sustainable without developing cultural tourism, which brings direct benefits to communities in destinations consumed at the real source. When we say that tourism is products are consumed at source, if there is one that should be consumed at source and can be consumed at source and is consumed at source, that brings direct benefits to the communities if properly managed and organized, it is cultural tourism. So this $22 million of the value of this market in 2023 can be increased if we are deliberate. When I say we, I'm talking about all tourism stakeholders are deliberate about promoting equity in the industry and promoting inclusion in the tourism industry. Oops. Yeah, that was my last slide in terms of the discussions that I wanted to lay down as we start our conversation this morning with Aisha. And Aisha is already here with us. And I will now want to take this opportunity to invite Aisha. And I will start by asking Aisha to introduce herself to us. After Aisha has introduced herself to us, we will pick up on the discussion. Aisha, as you introduce yourself to us, also tell us something about the motivation that you had to start Ewaffe Cultural Village, and then we will pick the discussion from there. For our participants, there are those of you who sent your questions in advance. My colleague, Michael, will post some of these questions on the chat so that the team that is helping Aisha will be able to pick up these questions, and they can help to, Aisha can then respond at the end of the conversation. We will pick up on matters that have not been addressed, and Aisha will be able to respond to them. Aisha, you are most welcome.
Thank you, Judy. Good morning. Can you see me?
Yes, Aisha, I can see you.
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone on the call. My name is Aisha Nawanika, and I'm the CEO and the founder of Ewaffe Cultural Village, located in Mukono, Nagalama, here in Uganda. And basically, it's just 1 hour drive from the city center of Kampala. Ewaffe is, I could say it's a baby. It's not so old. We've actually not made a year. We are only 9 months as I speak, because we opened 1st July 2023 to officially start business. However, the idea has about 4 years before it actually started. Yes, I'm the CEO of the organization and the founder, like I said. But previously, I've been working in the tourism industry. I was the administrator for Uganda Tourism Association, which is the apex body for all tourism private sector associations here in Uganda. Among the associations, they include hoteliers under UHOA. We have the tourist guides under USAGA, the community-based tourism initiatives under UKOTA. We have travel agents, we have art and crafts. So in brief, UTA being an apex body was encompassing all the different private sector associations here in Uganda. That was 7 years, of my entire career journey, and until today, where I'm now fully self-employed by Ewaffe as their CEO. Yeah. Okay, yes, a bit more about me. I've just assumed office as a board member for the Association of Ugandan Women in Tourism Trade. Yeah, it's an association bringing together all women in the tourism trade. Tourism has a wide value chain. Like I had mentioned, hoteliers, guides, and all this value chain, it has more of women. The ladies are the people who are working so much in the clerical work, serving in hotels, running tour operations, running activity-based, destinations and all that. So this association serves specifically women for, for their development as individuals, and then also for their companies. Yeah. Motivation. What motivated me to start Ewaffe? So like I said, Ewaffe is a baby. And I'm also not so old, Judy.
I know you're quite young. Yes, so that's why the interest, because cultural tourism is not a place for young people, but here you are. So that's I wanted that you could discuss with us your motivation.
That is very true. Heritage, to things to do with culture, they are myths that people associate them with the old tradition, with the people who've known it all, in the years. But personally, I have interest for cultural tourism, given that I've worked in the sector, like I've explained before, being at the center of all these different players, it gave me an opportunity to appreciate tourism as an industry within the country, within East Africa, within Africa, and globally, to understand how does this industry move. Yeah. So I've taken time to learn what happens, who are the people interested in culture. Yeah. Ideally, culture does not have a specific niche of customers. Judy, you mentioned about people of 16 to 25, but culture, well, those could be the majority, but culture is something that interests everyone. Because like you mentioned in the definition of culture, it's a sort of everything, that the intangibles and the intangibles. People explore, people come to learn, people come to discover. I don't know anyone could go to to a new country and wouldn't want to test the food of that, that country. Anyone would definitely want to test the food of a foreign country. Yeah. So to me, I think culture, the market is huge. It's not really limited because of its diversity in terms of offering. Like Judy said, culture encompasses different things. Look at the food, look at the way of life, look at the language. At least someone would want to go back to their country or to their home country, learning at least one foreign word or a sentence, you understand? All this is cultural tourism. They would want to associate with the locals, with the local people. How do they handle day-to-day life? What do they do from morning to evening, or even perhaps in the night? What happens, for example, in the life of that indigenous person? So having learned the statistics that as a country, Uganda, we really receive very few tourists, focusing on culture. And I took time to ask myself why, because as a country, Uganda is blessed. Yeah. We have over 54 different cultures here in Uganda. All of them unique in the way of life, in the food, in the language, you know, in their way of, you know, marriage ceremonies, death, what. So all these unique practices, I mean, they are here. We have them here. But there is nothing we have done about them on promoting them as tourism products. Yeah. So because I happen to be a Muganda, that's, I mean, it's a central tribe, and it's one of the, I could say, the eminent ones, yeah, in the country. And you find that even Buganda itself, they've really, I mean, it's not out there. Few people come onto the, and you find really that they want to go to the palace, they want to go to the kingdom, they want to associate with the Chiganda lifestyle, yeah. Because we, the promoters, or we, the people in the industry, have not really done much in promoting. You find that most of these itineraries are all filled up with national parks, yeah. They are filled up with gorillas, definitely. They are filled up with basically nature-based, yeah. But you can imagine you're going to drive a client from Entebbe to Windi, which is over 500 kilometers, just for the almost 24 hours for that client to go and track gorillas the next day. But all that time, I mean, all that distance that person has, there's a lot of things. One, the lifestyles of the people around, even local chapati, local kiosks, all these things, you know, I mean, they identify with us, you know, the indigenous people. So to me, I think with the promoters of tourism, or the people who started it earlier than us, really didn't give culture an opportunity to maybe have itineraries around, you know, the places we visit, the people, you know, and all that. So having understood that, I put up a few resources. I actually started from my home. That's why I actually named it Ewaffe. Ewaffe is and loosely translated as my home. Yes. So to show that, yes, this is where we come from, but it can mean Ewaffe Africa, it can mean Ewaffe East Africa, I mean, my home, Africa. So that is what it means. So I put up a few things together, had a visitor center, and then I started telling my people around that, hey guys, I think let me start marketing. I'll have few people come around, eat food, interact with community, just to understand, you know, as simple as that, just to understand the day-to-day life, you know, of what you people go through. And I really found so many of the people around were like, does this really make business sense? Are they going to know how we prepare our food? I mean, if they really assumed that everyone knows, you know, I mean, it's not new, it's not something sellable, because in their mind, they know tourism is going to see wildlife, is going to see mountains, is going to see chimpanzees and gorillas and things like that. I was like, no, there are people who are interested in just learning to make luombo, because not everybody appreciates luombo. Luombo is a local dish here in Uganda, yeah. So I put people together, I gave them a brief training, you know, and yes, on 1st July, we opened up our gates to the public and we started receiving visitors. We marketed and the numbers are increasing, inquiries are coming up. Yes, that is where we are now, Judy.
Thank you very much. During COVID, I think we were involved in a program that was providing online lectures on how to start a tourism business for communities. And we were focusing on cultural-based tourism initiatives. And listening to you, I think there is a bit that we can, that team of us can learn from your experience on how to start a community-led initiative for community-based tourism. Aisha, you mentioned the word myths, and I got excited because yes, you said that there are myths about who visits, who is interested in culture. That it could be the old, the octogenarians. Some people even say the baby boomers are interested in culture. but you have just told us that that is a myth. Everybody is interested in culture. In the short period you've been in operation, you have received all kinds of visitors. But I'm still sticking with the myths, and I'm talking now back to the myths that you've also mentioned related to the structure of the tourism industry, that, you know, you come to Uganda and what you should be thinking about are the gorillas, wildlife, and the chimpanzees, and not about the people. Now, the tourism industry itself has its own myths about cultural tourism. And one of them that I have heard over the years, and I just wanted to tell us how it relates to your short-term experience. The tourism industry has always said that it is impossible to have standards for cultural tourism. And because tourism is sells luxury, tourism is a place with standards. That's why we have 5-star rating. And some people have said to me, how would I rate a cultural center if I wanted to sell it to my guests? Because my guests understand 5-star, my guests understand 7-star, 2-star, or 4-star. But there are no standards for cultural tourism. So I cannot then promote or sell culture. Because if I'm selling 5-star places and then I send my guests to a cultural village where there are no standards, I will have compromised the experience for my guests. Tell me something about standards and how the tourism industry perceives cultural villages.
Thank you so much, Judy. That's a very, very good and pertinent question. When I registered this company under URSB, URSB is the Uganda Service Registration Bureau, I got my certificate. I got also the local license that is for purposes of location. When I went to Uganda Tourism Board is the body in charge of licensing, you know, all tourism operators. Indeed, they did not have a license for such cultural institutions. Yeah. And then my question was, why? They're like, because there are very few. In Uganda here, there are few really structured, if not even less, but structured cultural institutions like Ewaffe. So I could say Ewaffe is one of the few in the country, if not even East Africa. I'm not so sure. So yes, like you really brought it up, there are few standards. I mean, the fact that people are coming to engage with local community, people are coming to learn day-to-day life of a local community, sometimes it's tricky to put up certain, I could say, standards or rating or stars of sort. However, me in my offering, I make sure I have what they call basic standards for us. Do we have a proper washroom, for example? Yeah, which will be used by either a president of the country, a prime minister, or even a school-going child. You know, these basics. 2, are your community guides or the people giving out to this service, do they have a, you make sure that they deliver this service at a professional level? You understand? Because I have seen some communities I've visited, but the relationship between a customer and a client or a guest, and then you, the local community, you find it has some, you know, some question marks here and there. So, but what I did, I undertook a training for my staff for just basic service delivery, that you should behave like this. You should be, you know, clean enough. The hygiene matters. This is how you respond to guests' questions. Yeah, for example. I mean, this is how you have to be hospitable within that day. I mean, keeping a relationship, asking about whether regarding their property and all that. So, I mean, and it is also part of culture itself, you know, because, I mean, we are known to be one of the most hospitable countries around the world, Uganda, yes. So it's more of just twisting to remove, I could say, to just make it a professional service delivery. So as Ewaffe, we've just come up with our little I could say code of conduct or code of ethics. It's more of actually an ethical issue here. That how do we relate with our clients? We have a safe place for them, security-wise, their items are clean, we have a good washroom facility, such basic things. Their food is clean, we have, good, cooking places, and we are good to go. But then what I see now, of course, the authorities have started picking interest because prior they did not have, because even these facilities were few, but they've come picking interest. And yes, these conducts are developed from the stakeholders, which I think is very important because, some of us have practiced it and we've always gotten reviews from the clients themselves. And I think it would be a good way to at least have a minimum code of conduct for cultural tourism, institutions. So that is how we are taking it on our side, Judy. Yes. Thank you so much.
Oh, very good to know. It actually verifies one of the theories we've always had in community-based tourism here at STTA. We've always said that practice precedes policy, right? When it comes to matters of cultural tourism, we've always maintained that the authorities should appreciate practice, look at the practice, and out of the practice, develop policy. That is how you develop people-centered policies, right? Otherwise, if you develop policies in a vacuum and then bring it into a situation, most of the time, particularly in community-led or community-based tourism, you end up with a lot of conflicts. And it is the typical example of earlier wildlife policies in East Africa or even in Kenya, where policies were introduced into a situation where people coexisted with wildlife. Instead of studying that coexistence with wildlife and developing policies around it, policies were made outside of that coexistence, and therefore conclaves of islands of wildlife were created, not knowing that that wildlife had movement and it had a relationship with the people and there was mutual respect. And therefore, policy created conflict, right? There was no documented numbers of human-wildlife conflicts before the creation of the wildlife policies and acts. But because the policy did not take account of practice, there was conflict. And so what I'm hearing, I like what I'm hearing when you say authorities are now taking interest and practice will then inform policy. Then you actually make the policies people-centered and people-friendly policies. We are going to move forward. Aisha, this is a very interesting conversation. I want you to tell us a little bit about the offers, what you offer at Ewaffe Cultural Village. What packages do you sell? How have you packaged culture?
Thank you so much, Judy, for that. Well, as the village Ewaffe, our slogan goes for a traditional feel of Uganda. So anything traditional, Ewaffe is the place. So what basically do we offer? It's a range of variety of activities where visitors actually immerse themselves into. We only offer it for one day. It's a day's excursion. And our visitor experiences things to do with a farm tour. This farm tour has both a medicinal garden trail where she or he gets to learn about the different medicinal herbs. Africa is rich with indigenous medicines. People used not to go to hospitals. They treated themselves just at the backyard. So we've tried to have variety of these medicinal garden plants at our gardens. And then we do that medicinal trail. And then also the other one under the farm tour, we do a food trail where we showcase our indigenous foods. Yeah. So at Ewaffe, it's only local indigenous stuff. So after the garden tour, we take our visitors to a local well, which we term as a journey to the well. Here they get, I could say 3-in-1. They get an opportunity of seeing other local homestays because they walk from the center to within the village. And then for about half a kilometer, they reach the well. We showcase, because there are people who've grown up uptown that they even do not know what a local well is, you know. So they get this experience where they go fetch water in the pots, like how it was done back then. They draw the water. We, of course, teach about how this water was preserved and all that. And then they come back carrying their pots of water, move around the village, and then come back to the center. When they return, they are treated to an indigenous fruit feast. Here they get a feel of having these indigenous fruits, not these normal ones you see around the towns and the supermarkets. They test a little bit of the local ones. Thereafter, they go into the gender-based role plays. What was a role of a woman back then? Yeah, a woman used to be the one taking care of the family, cooking. So we go into cooking, you know, food preparation, where we learn about cooking luombo. We sell more of the story, you know, than the actual activity, because here everything, before you did it, it had a reason as to why. I'll just tell you one. Here, as you're preparing luombo, they hide the gizzard. So there was a lot of meaning beyond just, you know, wrapping the luombo of either chicken or meat or peanut paste, you know. So that is food preparation. Then we also do a bit of craft making. There are a variety of crafts. We do basketry, and its importance or its significance here in Uganda, or in our traditions here, because one of the significant activity is that a basket used to help us do DNA testing.
Oh.
So here, when you come to the village, we can show you how to do a local DNA minus going to the, you know, to the hospitals and all that. So all these stories, I mean, they are told by, not myself. I actually do not engage in any of the service offering, but I work with a team of dedicated community local members who are actually older than me, who offer this experience with passion because they saw it, they participated in it, so it's not new to them. The only thing I did was just to panel beat their service delivery by showing them how do you interact with a client. If a client asks a question, this is how it's supposed to respond, but they have the information, they have the knowledge because they've been there. Yeah. So after the craft making bit, we do the backcloth. Backcloth is very significant here in Buganda, used by the kingdom and of course also the general people. So we teach about how do we make a backcloth, what is its significance, where does it come from, you know, what more do we have to do or associate with a backcloth. That is also done at the village. Then we do fishing. We have ponds. However, I like calling them Ewaffe lakes because we are trying to showcase how were they doing the fishing back then, because it was a significant activity. So we take people to do more of a sport fishing activity where they engage, they go with the hooks, and of course the guide will guide them how do they, you know, put the bait, and then how do you get, you know, target the fish and all that. But my focus is more on the story. Yes. Because there are some do's and don'ts, the lake of why you don't do this before you. There's a lot of traditional history attached to most of this. It's something I always want to come out because it's totally new to different people, and it has reasons as to why it was done that way. Then after fishing, of course, we have lunch. Lunch is always in a traditional setting. Of course, we sit down on the mats in a circular manner. Of course, it's also part of the tradition where we eat our luombo, and then also the local food. We always have variety of it, and then also, you know, the water. We have pot water because that's what we serve, and juice, but locally made, you know, from the village. Usually after lunch, we do traditional games. We usually have variety depending on interest of people. We do omweso. Omweso, it's a very good game, and it was more loved by the kings of back then. So we do a bit of that. We do color sorting. So all the traditional games, just know at Ewaffe we have them. Then we have the incredible Koja and Senga sessions. These are the sessions everyone would do not want to miss. These are sessions about sex education, marriage, how was it done back then? So they're usually topical, and we engage, the clients also give us their perspective. Of course, the Sengal and the Koja take up the lead, but you find people really discussing personal related, issues, and people are helped in one way or the other. And even others come back and engage the Sengas on a personal level, even beyond just the visit. And they help them in certain, matters. Because back then, marriages used to last probably compared to today. So we always want to task the Sengas, what were you guys doing back then? So they start telling us the way you would handle this, the dress code, the what. So many things around there. So it's always a very good one, most especially for Ugandans, like domestic customers. This is, to me, from the reviews, and we've seen that this is the catch point for domestic clients, unlike for internationals, because this is not their thing,
Yeah.
For them, their catch point has always been the food, has been the medicinal plants, has been the well experience. Yeah. So yes, then we usually plant, every group plants a tree as part of welcoming back to Mother Nature. And we have some group pictures. Yes, and then our day usually ends at around 6, and we set our visitors to leave. So it's usually 9 to 6, and that's done. Yeah.
So it's an 8-hour experience. Yeah.
However, it can also be done half day, or even 2 hours or 3 hours. So it really depends on what a client needs. One thing I missed is the local brew making. It's also something here, because I had a client, I think like a month back, from the USA, and he was specifically interested in the local brew only. For the rest of he didn't want any medicine. So there are those clients who are specific in a particular, cultural activity or activity. So we are able to serve the needs of those customers.
What we're saying is that the itinerary is quite flexible. Yeah, you've got a number of things, but it's flexible to the interest. Now, Aisha, we all know that when it comes to issues of culture and heritage, there are certain discussions that refuse to go away around culture and heritage. And one of the discussions that refuses to go away is the discussion around authenticity, right? It's anytime you discuss culture and you're talking about culture, people will always ask, is culture still authentic? Can we really find authentic cultures today? Even where they are showcased, are they showcased in authentic ways? And so I'm going to ask this very straightforward question. Would you describe Ewaffe as an authentic cultural center? And if so, if the experiences are authentic, I know you have described the offers, but if you just mention the principles that govern, you've told us storytelling is a big principle behind it, using or working with the community and members of the community who are actually knowledgeable about the things, so they have not been trained on this. You are bringing the real people. That's one of the principles to promote your authenticity. But just tell us about if you were to describe Ewaffe Cultural Village as an authentic cultural village, what maybe 3 or 4 things would you then use to describe that or to back that up?
Okay, thank you so much, Judy. That's really, really very key and pertinent in culture tourism. I've moved around and checked some of the people intending, probably trading into culture tourism, and most of the things are staged.
Yes.
But Ewaffe's case, the people who offer this service, like I earlier said, they are the people who've been there. Yeah. You understand? Actually, most of my guides at Ewaffe, they are all, I could say 60 and above in age, most of them. So that means these guys lived a bit in that tradition, yeah? So they are speaking from out of experience, from out of something they love or something they did, they value so much. So that is one thing. Then two, Ewaffe is located and it is only focusing on Buganda Kingdom. Like I said, Uganda has so many cultural tribes. I did not choose to have so many cultures or cultural aspects at Ewaffe because it may not rhyme so well that I serve a Uganda culture, then I serve a Northern Ugandan culture, then I serve a Western culture. It would definitely not match at one point, even by virtue of language, you know? So I focused on only one, which I really understand and which is here in the central where Ewaffe is located. So if you really want to experience Acholi, maybe it would serve better if it is in Acholi land. So, but as Ewaffe, we are here located in the central, and that is what we are focusing on. Then also, these visitors, rather the community members, I do not really train them to tell them Luombo is done like this. No, these things they already know. And even in how they deliver, I informed them that they should deliver it the way their parents or their great grand is used to deliver it. That's why today you'll come, Senga will start. I mean, it's not a script. It's not something written down that they should follow A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You understand? This is something, even if in the night they wake up, they can tell you, okay, when you're preparing Luombo, we shall get the banana leaf, the topmost, and they do ABC, because this is something they've grown up seeing. So there is nothing really added in or researched or, you know, or added in. Then also in the way of relating, something I really emphasized to the team was that these visitors, they've not come here, they've come here to just relate with you. It's like the way you're receiving a visitor at your home. Yeah. So Ewaffe is home. That's why I actually named it Ewaffe. So feel free that you've just gotten a visitor, try to see their interest and give them to that, serve them to that need. That's why some visitors come, for them they're not interested in anything to do with the farm tours. We do not have to stick it that you have to start from the farm and go where. Some visitors come when for them they only just appreciate walking around the village and cycling. So that is what they've to do. So we do not, our flexibility, I really think makes it authentic, because it's not a fixed kind of program that from A to B to Z, because it's really, we are looking at community, we are looking at local lifestyle, and it can start anywhere. Yeah. So to me, those are the key things we've emphasized, and yeah, we've at least got very good reviews on authentic culture experience.
Okay. I think our participants have learned something today about promoting authentic cultures from Ewaffe Cultural Village, aspects of storytelling. You engage and use and engage the community that have lived the experience, and use people who have lived the experience to share the experience. There's a need to focus so that you don't try to offer everything in bits and pieces. So you focus on what you know and the character and the culture of the place, and not start importing cultures into another place because you might have misrepresentations. Then we have, I like the idea of there is no fixed program. A life begins where it starts. Today we can wake up and we decide we're gonna drink beer in the morning, and and if that is authentic. So we've learned something significant for me about some ways in which you can promote authentic cultures and return authenticity into our cultural villages. Now, before I will go on to my last question with Aisha, I want to take on questions from the audience. Those that were sent earlier on. And I know one of the questions that was sent earlier on was a question on the threat to cultural authentic cultures. And one of them, this participant was saying, how will you safeguard yourself from being overrun by over-tourism? If Ewaffe grows today and you're receiving 1,000 visitors a day, will the experiences still be authentic?
Yes, that's a very, very good question, Judy. Yes, if Ewaffe got 1,000 visitors
Yes.
today, will it still be authentic? You
Mhm.
see, we are selling stories. We are selling, I could say, way of life. Yeah. It's a matter of, trust me, if those numbers come, or if we see such developments in culture tourism, the better our communities will be. Remember, these most of the culture villages, even Ewaffe, they are located in rural communities. You understand? So if the numbers grow that rapidly, that means the need to involve more community guides, let's say. If my center is so small, that means we can host some guests in even people's local homes. You understand? So to me, the development of culture tourism, it is development of communities and the people living within. Because these numbers can be subdivided, and I mean different groups can be handled by different people, so long as like I said, our basic minimum standard is there of health, cleanliness, security, and ABCD, all those amenities are there. This thing can go on. You understand? So it will be good development for everyone, and most especially for people at grassroots, once the basic standards are there. So to me, I don't really think it will be over. The over tourism thing may be big of an issue, because these communities are many. Most of our countries, Kenya, even Uganda here, they are rural. Most of the parts are rural. So if they are not, if they are not fitting in Mukono, we shall take them to Mityana and experience, you know, a life of an indigenous Ugandan in Mityana. If not Mityana, we shall take them in Masaka. You know, so most of our communities are rural in nature. So it will be more of developing rural communities in this aspect. Thank you, Judy. I think you're mute.
Sorry, yes, I was muted. I'm looking at Michael to help me with some key questions that are emerging from the conversations. Michael, do I have key questions? What can you use the chat with you? We can use it. Okay. Any quick questions emerging here, Michael? How to link our efforts with those of government and yet remain independent? How to be financially independent? Is that supposed to be a question, Michael? Okay, I'll take on the next one. What are some of the exciting and untapped opportunities in cultural tourism, Aisha? What do you think is untapped in cultural tourism?
Yes, I really think the entire sector, the entire subsector of culture tourism is still lacking across Africa. Because Africa, we have these stories. We have the sun. We have the food, you know. We have natural resources and how we used to have culture attachments onto them. You understand? Even by the way, you can turn natural resources somehow and have a cultural experience on it. Yeah.
Yes.
For example, we have the Makishon Falls. Someone said when you pray at the Makishon Falls, for example, if you want to give birth to twins, you can have them. So there are also those culture attachments to natural resources. So to me, I really think we can really tap into this part of tourism, because every tourist, like I earlier said, has to have a feel of that country, and it is only through cultural tourism that this person will have this satisfaction. Yeah. And most of these activities into cultural tourism, they are participatory in nature, and it's a skill. Yeah, it is learning. By the time someone comes and learns a local cuisine, like a local dish or something, I mean, they are learning new knowledge onto them, how to use some of these indigenous plants.
I think this question of, is there a risk of cultural erosion when cultural tourism is doing very well? We have addressed it. When I asked Aisha about the threat of growing to receiving 1,000 visitors a day, and she said that this will be expanded and extended to the communities, and that authenticity can still be maintained as cultural tourism grows in the villages. The other one is on what, Michael? I can't see any more questions. Have I missed on another question? Can you just say it out? Can you read the question? Yeah.
Sorry, I think I lost you, but I'm back now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so to me, I really think there are a lot of opportunities. Like I said, even most of our cultures are unique. So if Aisha is doing Buganda, why don't you do more of, I don't know so many cultures in Kenya, but why don't you do another culture or aspect? You know, is it to do with milking the cows? Is it to do with a dress code? Now, for example, Uganda here, I mean, I think the biggest cultural center has been in Ndere. I think Judy, you know Ndere.
Yes.
But what Ndere is specializing on, it's only music and dance, only. You understand? Yes. And is in the market, they are doing so well. You understand? So someone can have, I could say, languages, or you know, teaching local languages. It could be a dress code. So these are all things we can all put together, and yeah, you have your product out there.
Okay. So you're saying that culture is so rich that it cannot be all packaged like in that one center. There are many opportunities to package culture and put it in the market. I liked your idea of how we have taken a certain perspective around physical attractions, and we no longer talk about their cultural values and the significance that they had for the people, but their stories around them that are related to a heritage of a people. Doreen is asking, Doreen, where's your question? You mentioned that your staff have undergone training and all that, but in travel, people travel with their behaviors, and some of these behaviors might not be ethical or at least acceptable. How do you ensure quality interactions for both locals and guests?
Okay, thank you, Doreen, for that question. Yes, of course, people come with different ways, perceptions, and you know, the way they look at things. But by the time someone books a Ewaffe or any culture, you know, they're of course expectant of certain things, you understand. So that means that person he has seen the pictures, is interested in the food, is interested in learning ABCD, or even to watch it, you understand. So to me, I really think you, the person delivering the service, you should be keen to observe how is your client responding, and even you have an opportunity to ask them, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. What do you think would work better for you? Where do you think we can spend more time? You know, so that you do not dwell so much on the things he or she does not have interest in. You know, yes, it's usually a one day, and most of the times people are fixed in those times. So we do not really have so much time for people to, I mean, to be free of sorts, like to be on their own. It's really an immersion into the different activities. If you do not like fishing, you're either in the garden harvesting, or you're digging, or you're doing something with the local children. So there's really no time for someone to really exercise probably their bad manners or their unethical ABCD, you know, at the village. Yeah.
It's related to Doreen, and Doreen, thank you for bringing that question up, because it's just reminded me to ask Aisha, which is probably what you're also asking. So Aisha, do you have a code of conduct for visitors? Like when you come to Ewaffe Cultural Village, you cannot come in a bikini. When you come to Ewaffe Cultural Village, what's your code of conduct for visitors? And that will help to also build on Doreen's question.
Okay, thank you, Judy, for that. Well, usually, actually, clients ask us, what are we supposed to come dressed in? Are we supposed to come with ABCD? Of course, we are not very, very strict on some of those things because it is okay. People have come to learn. Of course, some of them even have never known about your norms. So they are seeing them or experiencing them for the very, very first time. We've seen clients come in bikinis, but after training them, you see people changing there and then. So we do not have, I could say, clear set out, or if you're not dressed in this, you shouldn't come. If you're smoking, you don't come, or something like this. However, we give them a briefing before the activities start on on what they expect and what we also expect them to do, which is more of engaging and asking questions. And if they have any dietary issues, and with our local foods we usually have. So they are more of the said than the written. Yeah. So they're not really stipulated, but they're just more of implied, I could say, ethical code.
Okay. Doreen, if you have a follow-up question to that, we can pick that up. But Victor is asking, have you thought of documenting the intellectual assets behind this concept? This is a question in relation to some processes and products like the traditional beer. Red Bull was once a traditional drink in Bangkok, and an Austrian tourist commercialized it.
That's a very key question. Thank you so much for asking. Yes, that's very, very pertinent even these days. We've seen a backcloth intending to be patented in Germany. The backcloth, Ugandan backcloth, you understand? So yes, IP is something we are pursuing, I could say, on some of the different traditional knowledge the people have. But of course, some of the knowledge, given that it's at a culture, because here cultures are being headed by the Kabaka, or the head of a culture, like a tribe. They usually the cultural leaders, it's either Kabaka or Mugabe, we have names here. So some of these things, we are pushing them through the political aspects of the kingdom, I could say Buganda. But of course, there's this one for the medicinal. How do we use some of those we are pursuing them, because URSB, we are working hand in hand with them to have that. We have some of these trademarked, patented. Yes, because they are indigenous to Ugandans here, so it would definitely be good to patent them.
Okay. Do you want to talk about a question from Alala? He's talking about how have you aligned your culture? I believe, Alala, you mean the cultural center, because you can't align culture to fit Gen Z. Culture is culture. So if you mean how the center is aligned to fit Gen Z and the generation of tomorrow. Yeah.
Say that again. I didn't hear.
How have you aligned your product offer at Ewaffe Cultural Village to fit Generation Z and the generation of tomorrow?
Okay,
they are very pro-technology.
Yeah, that's very, very good question. Ewaffe, one of the segments we do are school tours. We are open to schools and children, school-going children, to come and learn some of these the different cultural aspects, because some of them even just being that we are serving them as a tourist product, but rather these are some of the things we need in a day-to-day life. I've seen parents during the holidays bring us their children for discipline. You understand? For grooming, for, some of these things were back then, we used to go to our sengas, those are our paternal aunties. But today, our children never get certain opportunities. So we've seen families drive, often children come to Ewaffe to just interact with the sengas, to be with the kojas, to teach them manners of people, to teach them discipline and sorts, So to me, I think this is something to enable our families carry on. I happened to visit Boston, I think like 2 years back, and there are quite a number of Africans there, Ugandans in particular, And you know, they were like, okay, I think you find that their children are Ugandans, but because they are born in the US, they can't even speak anything in their local language. They can't even greet you, you understand, in a local language. So to me, I really saw that Ewaffe could be a source for some of these, you know, local children in the diaspora, you know, Ugandan kids in the diaspora, because their parents don't have the time, you know, even the schedules in the US and all that. So they need to bring them back home here to learn a few things. Yeah. So to me, I think this can help the young children to adopt, because culture is culture. It has lived for generations and generations. And even as we shall leave it, and, you know, yeah, and take and our children should take it on. And it shouldn't just fade because everything we're adopting modernity. Yeah. So I think we need to protect it in some way.
In the way that it is authentic, so that children come and experience it instead of adapting it for them. And like I say, studies have shown, interestingly, it is that generation Y, X, Y, Z that it's emerging that post-COVID, that they are the highest consumers and have interest in culture. And that is age 16 to 23. Very interesting finding, right? Indeed. Aisha, it looks like you're popular and people want you. Those who are not here at the beginning did not hear how Aisha started the business anchored on cultural tourism. And I think we can recap that at the end. First and foremost, it's the knowledge of the industry that she had, and she saw the gap, and it took 4 years in preparation. Did you say 4 years? Yeah?
Yeah.
It took 4 years of preparation. Yeah, and that means finding the place, putting the product, talking to the people in the village, identifying what is going to be done, doing her registration properly and getting properly registered before starting the business. Related to that, I think Victor is looking at your approach and thinks that you can build a framework that can be licensed to anyone who wants to establish a cultural center like Ewaffe. So Victor is actually saying that you can talk to people like themselves, and you can build your methodology into a framework that can be then sold to other people. And so Victor is here as a resource. And that's why I said in this space, we also come here to network and to learn opportunities that are there. And Victor says you can get in touch with them, the place brand builder, to make this work. Yeah, and I think that's what we want to see. We want to see people don't have to assume that because it's culture, it does not have a system and a structure. And so Aisha insisted from the beginning that there is standards that they have, there's a system and there's a structure in which they work with. So Victor, there you are. You can exchange your contacts with Aisha in here. Dominic, have I missed any other question in here? Does wearing the Ugandan attire included during the tour of Ewaffe village? Aisha?
Say that again, Judy. I didn't get you.
Does wearing the Ugandan attire included during the tour of Ewaffe village?
Oh, yes, absolutely it is. Like I said, we have so much to offer. There are even things we can add in on that particular day when even we did not have them on our itinerary. So yes, our traditional wares are there, the gomassis and the kanzus. So people usually love. We actually just had a visitor from UK, I think last week, and she loved the dress code of the gomasi, and she actually said she's bringing the family, I think, very, very soon. So yes, it is part and parcel because it's culture anyway. Yeah.
Great, thank you for that. Dodgy, are you still here? We have a guest who was interested in this discussion, having heard about Ewaffe, and was joining us all the way from Bhutan. Dodgy, are you still here? Maybe he can't hear us, but we had said we wanted to get some perspectives all the way from Bhutan. But if he's not here, I think I'll move on to my next question for our discussion, Aisha. I had mentioned I'd mentioned these things and you have mentioned them in passing, but we are now going to put them in context so that those who are interested in context can understand them better. Aisha, I know you understand the principles of EDI, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and how they are significant for the sustainable development of tourism. If you would use those terminologies, right? How would you describe Ewaffe Cultural Center in terms of promoting equity, inclusion, and diversity?
Okay. Thank you, Judy. Well, in a Ewaffe setting, I could say in terms of service offering, culture in itself,
Yeah.
it has an inclusion. How? We have dancers, the people who welcome our visitors. These are basically children, school-going children, you understand? But they always get time to come at Ewaffe because they know at the end of the day, they either earn something to add on to their school fees or even buy a book or a pencil. You understand? Then also, when you look at the gender-based role plays, there are roles that were played by men. It is culture. It is traditional. There are roles that were for men. Fishing, blah, blah, backcloth making. You know, I cannot be a female and then go and do that activity. Then there are those for female. You cannot find a singer who is a male. You understand? Traditionally, the singers are a female, and vice versa. The koja is a male. So Ewaffe has diverse of all gender, I could say, of all different age. Of course, with the majority of being the elders, because we are selling more of the story, like I said earlier on. Yeah. So and these people are chosen on merit. I mean, interest, you have the knowledge. It's not that because you're my sister or you understand. So it is on merit and then experience, and then also being that you're around, because these community kind of initiatives, they should be able to assist community members where they are. So all the people who work at Ewaffe, they're from the nearby community. Even in a way of saving, you cannot have someone from Kampala and you expect them to work at Ewaffe. So Ewaffe, I could say, is an inclusive organization, employer, and community organization. Then also in terms of visitors, yes, like I said, everyone has an opportunity, should have an opportunity to have this experience, whether young or old or whichever, or even maybe a special abilities people. So they all have an opportunity, because it's like visiting any place. It does not have any, so many like restrictions and sort. So it gives an opportunity to everyone, to interact and participate in any cultural aspect. Like I said, it's not really fixed that it is ABCD. No, for you, we serve you according to your cultural interests. So, yeah.
So we can confidently say that inclusion, equity, and diversity defines this cultural village, and also tells us that a cultural village can then be modeled to promote EDI. And you have told us that you have environment tree planting as an environmental issue that is cross-cutting, and all groups of visitors a plant is when they come.
Something on that. Yes, on top of that,
yeah.
Actually last week on the 20th of April, as a Ewaffe, like I said, we are babies, so most of the things we are trying to, everything is a bit new, but we are doing our best. So on the 20th of April, we just carried out our first ever Bulungi Wansi campaign. Bulungi Wansi means a community service activity. Yeah, this is something we just did last Saturday here, 20th. in our community where we were cleaning the environment, proper waste disposal. We planted the trees. Of course, we were in partnership with the National Forest Authority, Tree Adoption Uganda. We had quite a number of partners who came because, I mean, we have to, there are a lot of campaigns ongoing countrywide on the issue of tree planting. Yeah. So as a Ewaffe, we've also done our very first one, but it's on an ongoing campaign where we shall be ensuring a clean environment, not only at Ewaffe premises, but also around the community, to ensure that we have garbage collected very well and disposed of very well. We have trees, basically indigenous trees, planted around, and then also that the people are sensitized, because we had a couple of students. That's where the approach we shall be taking for sensitization on protecting the environment, proper waste disposal, planting of trees, and general health of the community we live in. Because the Ewaffe cannot succeed if the community where it is in is not succeeding. So we have to live in harmony for starters, but then also the people around who are not directly I could say engaging with the Ewaffe, they should also feel the impact of this organization. This is one way of keeping harmony, sanity, and then also good PR, because we need it. Yeah. Okay,
great. You say you are quite young, but there are people who already feel that you need to expand. Somebody says, good afternoon. Do you see yourself expanding to other regions of Uganda?
That's a very beautiful question. Expanding. I could say I could employ, because one of the initiatives we have started, we have a company called Rural Tourism Initiatives.
Yes.
So this is going to be more of a consultancy service, assist other communities in establishing what we call cultural villages or cultural homes or cultural homestays. Because like I said, when I was doing the analysis before starting up Ewaffe, I noticed that Uganda is rich, and indeed it's rich. So if Ewaffe is doing only the central, how can we help Anacholi from in Gulu to also probably set up in the small, means possible? How can we assist someone in Mbale where they do the Masava, that ritual of circumcision, to organize their products? Because trust me, the knowledge is there, but the issue is people are fearing to start, and then packaging it is always the challenge in most cases. So as Rural Tourism Initiative, which is also a hat I wear as Aisha, to assist other institutions or even people with resources to try and establish something, of sort.
Okay, super. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Michael, have I missed a question? I've got 6 minutes to wind up. Aisha, when I come back, I'll be asking you for your closing remarks. Your closing remarks, what you want to profoundly leave us with as we finish today's conversation. Is there anybody in the audience who has a question that has not been answered and wants to ask Aisha before we conclude this discussion today? And if there's anyone you've met here and you find that you want to interact with them, you're free to exchange your contacts on the chat. If you met somebody interesting and you'd like to be in touch with them, please, including if you want to be in touch with STTA for anything, Sustainable Travel and Tourism Africa, you can share your contacts on the chat, and Michael, my colleague, will follow up with you on any matters of interest. I don't see any hands raised up. I don't see any other comments on the chat. And because there's no other, I want to give you a chance, Aisha, to give us your closing remarks, your parting shots.
Thank you so much, Judy. It's been a pleasure. When I start talking about Ewaffe and cultural tourism, sometimes I never want to stop. because I talk about something I really love. Even if I move out of the country, I'm always speaking about Uganda, how beautiful it is, how people are welcoming. The food is, I mean, if you've not tasted Ugandan food, you've not tasted anything. Anyway, my parting shots for today will be that us as Africans, there's a lot, we are rich, I could say, as a continent, given that we have the sun, across almost throughout the year. We have the sun, we have the rains, we have these beautiful sceneries, we have the wildlife, we have the people. I mean, we have it all, I could say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it is from this that we, as most especially the young people, that we need to think beyond, I could say beyond the box, or beyond the normal things that are there, that you have to study and look for a job or get to these organizations. To me, I really think we need to be more of the creators, most especially people in the tourism space. The culture tourism subsector is just a niche. It is growing at a rapid level. If we go back to the statistics Judy gave us, she told us, I think by 2033, I think it will be over how many billions of people.
22 million.
So yes, so we need to do something, and I'm sure that it is from the knowledge that we have is something we can actually rely on to create viable business products. Culture is just more of storytelling. It's just telling your traditional understanding of that particular aspect. So to me, I really think these stories are many. Even it could be as easy as simple as, I mean, milking a cow, because not everyone has seen milking, and how do we turn the milk into ghee, for example. So there's a lot we can do, most especially as young people, because we have the energy and we have social media. I could say Ewaffe's growth has been really pushed so hard through social media. We do not really have fancy websites. Actually, when you check our website, is as basic as just normal information. But let's use social media to push our products. Yes. Even if online products as a way of offering this culture service online, these things are possible. Yeah, or even selling traditional artifacts or materials, or even souvenirs. Yeah, because all these are things that tell our story. So let's if you're a person into culture tourism development, I think we need to also get in touch, or at African level, we inspire each other, share these stories. Yes, and we sell our culture as a tourism product. Yes, thank you, Judy.
Thank you for those great insights. Stephen Neo would like to connect with Ewaffe. He says he's the CEO of Kigali Cultural Experience, and Aisha, they have their number there. Maybe you can reach out to them.
Yeah, I think for purposes of connecting, I'll just share my number here. I really love to connect, and thank you for this opportunity. So okay. I'll just type my number here for us to get in touch. This is basically a business line, so it should be strict for business.
Only it's a line.
Business dealings.
Let us respect people's data. If it's a business line, use it for Maria. You have 1 minute. Maria is saying, I just want to say one word. Maria, are you there? Maria, can you hear us? Are you muted or are you not there? You have just asked to say something and now you're not there. Maria, one more time. Okay. Maybe she can't, maybe they can't hear us and they really wanted to say something, but they cannot. Oh, they're saying they're trying to connect. Sorry about that, Maria. As you're trying to connect, I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for coming. Thank you for your engagement and the questions that you have asked. I hope that you will be inspired to believe in cultural tourism. That was the purpose of this discussion, to inspire a generation that believes that cultural tourism is an opportunity, and all of us don't have to build lodges and hotels to participate in tourism. We can build on what we already have, what has been built over the years, and use those experiences. I always say communities are the greatest creators of experience, and we have just had it from our visitor, my co-host this morning, who is Aisha, the founder of Ewaffe Cultural Village in Uganda. For my parting shots, I have two things that I would like to say. I would like to say that I look forward to the day in Africa, in this continent, where culture will be a mainstream tourism product, because it is a resource that we have in abundance, and we have ignored and developed other products at its expense. So I look forward to the day when I will see policies on cultural promotion, when I will see support going to communities at village level, where village tourism will be developed and invested in by the state as a product, a proud product of the destination. Now, when we are talking about signature products as a continent, we'll be proud to put our cultural products in the forefront as part of our signature products. The other point that I want to make as we conclude, and this is for destination identity, I am totally convinced that one way that a destination can demonstrate its commitment to sustainable tourism is to support the development of cultural tourism. One way that a destination can demonstrate its commitment to sustainable tourism is to support the development of cultural tourism. Whether that development comes through policy interventions, whether it comes through direct investments, financial instruments to support cultural tourism, market access opportunities. But one way that a destination demonstrates its commitment to sustainable tourism is to develop and invest in its cultural tourism. Last but not least, the last comment that I would like to make as my really major parting shot, I have said 3 of them. I think cultural tourism is the missed opportunity in sustainable development of tourism in Africa. Cultural tourism is the missed opportunity in sustainable development of tourism in the continent. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. As we leave, we would like to invite you to register and participate in our Sustainable Tourism Africa Summit. This is a summit that is organized by Sustainable Tourism, Travel and Tourism Africa every year. This year we are in Mombasa. We are going to be at Serena. You can be a day guest. You can come in and go. We have a rail connection to Mombasa, making transport and access very easy. And while you're in Mombasa these days, we know that you can find affordable accommodation in Airbnbs. The whole program is very exciting and enlightening, opportunity for more networks to meet many different people. We hope, I've been pushing Aisha, I hope that Aisha can come to STAS and have a chance to share this experience, how to start a cultural village, how to build your standards, and even then how to come up with an additional enterprise out of it. When she talked about rural tourism services, I was excited. This has been born out of Ewaffe Cultural Village. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The information on the Sustainable Tourism Africa Summit 2024 has been provided. A phone number, Kenyan number, +254 7984 75154. You can send a WhatsApp, or you can email marketing@sttakenya.org, or visit the website at events.sttakenya.org and become a part of that summit. Thank you very much for those of you who registered, and we have your email. Michael will get back to you and share this link if you want to revisit this discussion, or share it with other people. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day. We enjoyed having you and we value very much your participation. Have a brilliant day. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye, Aisha. Thank you so much, Aisha. Thank you. Bye.
See you in June. I am coming.
Oh, welcome, Aisha. Thank you. That's exciting news. See you in June. Bye.